So, I was working on a script, breaking down this trailer over here, the Shades trailer that we got 2 weeks ago, and Hoyo decided to put out a new one. The Song of the Welkin Moon teaser. And I thought about starting a script for this video, but then I gave up. So what we're going to be doing is we are going to be improvising this without a script. Full disclosure, I've watched this video many times, and I do have things to say about it. But before we do that, oh yeah, we also have this thing to react to talk about. Before we do all of that, anyways, before we do all of that, I would like to talk about the cast we have for Nod Krai, the lineup of characters, because how can I say this? I think the reason why not, or one of the reasons why Natlan felt weird and lacking in some respects, like we didn't get as many map expansions, we were missing an artifact domain, like I don't know, Natlan was weird. But I think one of the reasons why Natlan felt weird and lacking in some regards is because the devs were like stacking up Nod Krai to be like super hype. I mean like look at this cast and you'll be able to tell like oh yeah the devs were cooking with this. I mean we have like two Hexen Circle members, we have two Fatui Harbingers, we have Durin, we have Varka. Like this is a pretty stacked lineup of characters. So first, I would like to break down just a bit each of these characters and who I think, especially like the Nod Krai folks, are affiliated with. First up, we have Nicole and Alice, our Hexen Circle members. We have Columbina and Sandrone, our two playable Fatui Harbingers, which, I mean, I assume they're going to be playable because they show up in um or I don't even know what to call this, but like Hoyo has done marketing towards Columbina and Sandrone that implies that they will be playable. We have Varka, we have Durin, which like, damn, okay, Varka and Durin playable in Nod Krai, and then we have our Nod Krai locals. So I know we saw in the 5.7 live stream, she built Enefa, and she's part of the Krumkake or the Clink Clank Krumkake workshop. Um, and I think Jehoda is also part of the Clink Clank Krumkake workshop as well, because in this teaser, she was with Inefa. So I would just assume that Jehoda is part of that, I guess, faction, if you will. Flynn's is very obviously a light keeper. You can see in his art over here, there's like a lighthouse in the background. Lauma is very obviously a Frost Moon Scion, because there was also this the one video that Hoyo put out with where we're just on Hisi Island and she talks to a deer or something. Um that just leaves us with Nefer. And I've seen people say things about Nefer on the internet that I think are quite wild and I don't necessarily agree with. Like the biggest uh or the wildest theory that I saw about Nefer was how people were like, "Oh, her outfit is is vaguely Sumerian." And her name, Nefer, that's like an Egyptian word, if I recall. So people speculate that she's from Sumeru, but people go like one step further and think that she's somehow a Pep. And I don't think that Nefer is a Pep. um, I don't know. I mean, maybe she could be Sumerian. Like maybe it's a Toma situation where Toma was originally from Mondstadt and moved to Inazuma. Maybe Nefer was originally from Sumeru and moved to Nod Krai. As for what faction of Nod Krai she's affiliated with, my money for some reason is on the Voynich Guild. Just because, I don't know, the Voynich Guild seems to be one of the more important factions of Nod Krai, seeing as like Nasha Town is apparently like a centralized hub. It's kind of weird that of these 11 characters that were revealed so far, we don't really have an obvious one that's affiliated with the Voynich Guild. So I think Nefer is a part of the Voynich Guild. Uh, Man, Mondstadt is eating good, aren't they? I mean, we have Varka, we have Durin, and Alice. I'm assuming like Alice and Varka definitely are gonna have Mondstadt visions. Varka definitely, and Alice we see here has a Mondstadt vision. Uh, Durin is probably gonna have a Mondstadt vision. So yeah, like I don't know. Mondstadt seems to be eating good in the 6.x patches. I don't know. Hmm. I'm also wondering if like the shades are going to be playable at any point. I mean, they do have like humanoid appearances, so that's something. I don't know if all of them are going to be playable. Um, if anything, like I think the most likely candidate for a playable shade that we might get in the 6.x patches is probably going to be Rhine just because she's affiliated with the Shades and the Hexen Circle, and we already have, two playable Hexen Circle members. Why not add a third? Anyways, those are my thoughts on the cast of Nod Krai. Without any further ado, let's. And I'm not going to be having audio on for this, by the way. OBS is weird. Uh, let's just break down the teaser. So this is Nicole's voice, by the way. This is the guide that never gets lost. Varka, I know. Not really anything to say here. Varka and Ino just talking to each other. And this is where things get interesting. So, I mean, we don't have to play the whole thing. Basically, in this scene, what happens here, it's basically just them teasing Durin. By the way, wait, hold on. I forgot. Durin does have a Mondstadt vision. It's on his back. It's like right above where my cursor is. You can see that's a Pyro vision, and that looks like a Mondstadt vision. So there we go. 3 Mondstadt characters in one patch, or not in one patch, in one version. Uh, so yeah, Jehoda here. It's insinuated that Durin wants to go to the moon. Let me see if I can find it. The moon's a long way off. So that's interesting. I don't know if we're gonna be going to the moon in Genshin Impact. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess it could happen. That would be interesting, but I wouldn't bet on it. Like, I don't think we're getting the moon as a separate map, like Ankanamiya or the Chasm. Uh, I mean, maybe the moon crashes down in the 6.x patches, and we get to explore like whatever that does to Teyvat. I'm not sure. Also, another thing is the Fatui machine thing. Oh god. Oh god. Fatui machine. I'm just gonna search up Fatui machine Nod Krai. Ba, 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 ba. Yeah, this thing. Wait, hold on. This is a better image. It's blurry. Um, it's blurry. This machine thing, this Fatui base, in Nod Krai, I like. I'm gonna talk more about it later, but it kind of reminds me of like a spaceship of some sort. I don't know. So, but between like Durin talking about going to the moon and this Fatui base thing that looks that has a really interesting shape, I I wouldn't rule out the possibility of us going to the moon. Um, but that would just seem really weird for us to explore another celestial body. And who knows? Who knows? There's also the question of like which moon is the corpse in the sky. Skirk confirms with us that two out of the three moon sisters, or two out of the three moons, are hidden beneath or between that hidden beyond the false sky. And that's what we saw in the Natlan quest when Malvuika punched the sky. So two of the moon's the remnants of two of the moons are behind the sky, and well, there's that leaves one moon that's still intact. But apparently, it's like devoid of life, whatever that means, according to Skirk. Uh, we don't know if it's the iridescent moon, the eternal moon, or the frost moon that is still quote unquote intact. My money is on the frost moon because, I mean, we are in Nod Krai, and the frost moon scions are a thing. So I would associate like I would associate the frost moon with the moon that is still intact. Just because we're going to Nod Krai and it seems that the frost moon scions are worshiping a moon. They're probably worshiping Columbina, but we're gonna get to that. If I had to guess, I would say that the frost moon is the moon that's still intact. Just because we're going to the Nod Krai region, which like it seems to be connected to the frost moon, at least vibes wise. um Moving on, Nicole says something really interesting. uh Nicole states that the tale of the moon begins long ago, yada yada yada. In that era, there was no boundary between life and death. Willpower flowed freely among countless beings. The primordial being that once filled this planet made three moons rise from the earth. And I would like to point out that the Moon Sisters and the Moons of Tibet existed before the first Descender came. The moons existed before the heavenly principles came to Tibet. So presumably, the primordial being that Nicole is talking about here, who created the moons, is Nibelung. And if we like look at Nibelung Genshin mural, if we look at some of the murals depicting Nibelung, would you look at that? That's Nibelung. And one, two, three, those look like moons. So I think it's safe to say that Nibelung created the moons and the Moon Sisters. Another interesting thing is that Nicole mentions that willpower flowed freely among countless beings, presumably during the age of Nibelung and the bishops, and that to me has the vibes of her talking about phlogiston based life forms. Um so yeah. So yeah, that's that. For those of you who haven't played the little one quest in Natlan, for those of you who haven't finished that, I won't go too in depth about that quest, but it ends really interestingly. And and I think a similar thing is happening here when Nicole says that willpower flowed freely among countless beings. It seems like she's talking about phlogiston based life forms. Then she goes on to say, and we get a good look at Flynn's as well. She goes on to say that it wasn't until the funerary year. Hello? It wasn't until the funerary year that the primordial voice once again cried out in darkness. And so we're talking about Nibelung here. Um, and this is like Before Sun and Moon. This is like stuff we heard about in Before Sun and Moon, the book that we find in Ankanomiya. Uh, so the heavenly principles came to Tevat, uh, defeated Nibelung, defeated the Seven Sovereigns, created humans, everything was good. Nibelung fled and came back with abyssal. Uh, it came back, sorry, with forbidden knowledge, which, yeah, is abyssal power. Uh, and that coincided with the war with the second who came. And I don't think the second who came is Nibelung. That would be weird because Nibelung was here before the first who came, the heavenly principles. I think I think Nibelung might have like teamed up with someone who we refer to as the second who came, and that might be what's going on. I don't know. The stuff in Before Sun and Moon is really, really interesting, but also quite vague. We don't really know what happened in that second war, but when Nicole says the primordial voice once again cried out in darkness during the funerary year is when Nibelung came back and warred against the heavenly principles. So yeah. And then we see Sandrone. And we don't really get anything much here. This is sort of just like, oh, Sandrone is going to be in Nod Krai. So, cool. And she complains about the Frostmoon Scions. So there's very clearly going to be a division between the Fatui and the Frostmoon Scions. Um, and it's very probable that we are going to see Dottore in Nod Krai. Malvika mentions at the end of the Natlan Archon quests that uh, a group of Fatui harbingers, I think, infiltrated Natlan to study uh, fragments of the moon, and they were working under Dottore. So it's very plausible that Dottore will appear in Nod Krai. Um, and the person that they need, or actually, I'm just gonna play the video. So yeah, the Frostmoon Scions. The Frostmoon Scions and the Frostmoon Scions and the Fatui are sort of butting heads. This is Lauma. Ooh, okay. When do I talk about when do I talk about Skirk's artifact set? The name is escaping me. What's it called again? I am blanking. The finale of the Deep Galleries. Uh, I was gonna make a video on that as well, but apparently not. So we see here that Lauma is a scion of Hyperborea, and she's praying to the Frost Moon, which is really weird because, like, in this thing, the web event, we're gonna get to the web event, but apparently, the Frost Moon Scions pray to the new moon, uh, which is, which I'm assuming is Columbina. So, like, why are we praying to the Frost Moon? Like, do the Frost Moon Scions pray to the Frost Moon and the new moon? Like, I'm gonna guess that that's the T, right? It's real. I I don't really understand the ideology of the Frost Moon Scions is what I'm trying to get at. Because obviously, like they are opposing the Fatui. They don't want her to get to Columbina. for whatever reason. But they pray to both the frost moon and the the new moon, who is probably Columbina. I mean, I might as well get into the lore of the finale of the Deep Galleries. So, okay, a bit of a tangent. I'm just going to come out and say I think that Columbina is the first angel who fell in love with the Voyager, who came from outer space. Uh, and like all of this is the lore of the finale of the Deep Galleries Skirk's artifact set. Um, I'll make a video on that eventually, but I'm just going to do a little bit of summarizing here. So the first angel and the Voyager, uh, they did not create the Snowland Fae, but they authorized the Frost Moon Scions, or the people who would eventually become the Frost Moon Scions, to create the Snowland Fae. And the first angel and the Voyager, they both lived in Hyperborea. Um, and so when Lauma says that she is a scion of Hyperborea, that's because, like, the Frost Moon Scions are the descendants of the people who lived with the first angel and the Voyager, the one who fell in love, the angel who fell in love with the Voyager. And then, the rest is history. They weren't allowed to fall in love. Uh, a great calamity happened. The Sealies got cursed, or the angels got cursed, and they turned into Sealies. A lot of them, anyway. Um, and the two lovers were separated. I I do think that Columbina is the first angel. Like we were always speculating that Columbina might have been a Seelie just because of, like, visually her wing motif and, like, her covering her eyes, all of the wings, all of that. Like, very very much Seelie imagery all around. So obviously the first angel was close with the scions of Frost Moon and also close with the Snowland Fae. And, like, from this teaser, the Tevat interlude teaser with the shades, we learned that Columbina is associated with Nod Krai. So what's up with that? I I do think that, like, I don't have any concrete evidence, but the vibes are pointing towards Columbina being the, if not the first angel, uh, an angel, a Seelie. Skirks, okay. Also Skirks, Azure Light Genshin. Skirk's weapon description is also very interesting. Um, we don't necessarily know everything about how the Seelie curse worked, because it wasn't like all of the angels turned into Seelies. Uh, we know of multiple Seelies that stayed, or like that didn't lose their minds essentially. So here, this is the first angel talking, and the first angel is talking about four prominent angels, and they are uh as follows. They are the Lord of the Night, Nabu Malikata, I think Sibylla, and the gold-eyed Celadon Mare, who unfortunately I'm not that familiar with because I was quite busy during this year's Lantern Rite. Um, yeah. So we do know that not all of the angels turned into Sealies. That might be what's happening with Columbina. Um, so she probably is an angel, and she's probably going to be the new moon. Because there's just a lot of imagery surrounding Columbina uh, and the moon, very obviously, and we'll get into that when we see the statues of the seven in this web event. We see Nefer talking to Varka. Nefer's apparently a storyteller. She says that a greater storyteller than myself has come, and then we see Nicole with these cool ass wings that she's eventually going to show us. An ancient shadow brandishes its hunting claws, taking aim at the stars. So, what's this ancient shadow that Nicole is speaking about? Well, I I think she's probably speaking of the leader of the Wild Hunt. Now, the Wild Hunt is very interesting because out of all of the, I guess, incarnations of the Abyss that we've seen in Genshin, the Wild Hunt seems to be the most humanoid. Um, I mean, humanoid in air quotes, right? If we see these figures here, like, they're fairly humanoid, except for this one, I guess. Like, these guys in the background definitely look more human. Uh, but they also seem to have, like, I guess, a greater sense of cohesion amongst them, just the way that they are talked about. Uh, so that's really strange. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why that is, but like that could be because of the Wild Hunt's leader, which the Wild Hunt's leader was mentioned in the Pale Flame. No, not the Pale Flame. Oh my god, I'm forgetting my artifacts. The Long Night's Oath artifact set mentioned the leader of the Pale Hunt, and I think it mentioned the leader having a bow and arrow. Let me just search that up. Long Night's Oath. Uh, is it this one? Lightkeepers? No, 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 no. Okay. Wild Hunt. The leader of the Wild Hunt was abroad galloping across the night sky. Galloping across the night sky. I don't know where I got a bow and arrow. I think I saw the word galloped and I thought of Lon from Honkai Star Rail, and so I thought bow. Okay. The leader of the Wild Hunt does not have a bow. The leader of the Wild Hunt gallops across the night sky, apparently. Um but yeah, I don't know. I do think that Nicole is talking about the leader of the Wild Hunt here when she says an ancient shadow who is brandishing its hunting claws. And you know, there are multiple candidates for who the leader of the Wild Hunt could be. I've seen speculation that it's Nibelung, like a corrupted Nibelung who's like, oh, not really dead, you know, or like I've also seen speculation that it's Revier, the Rache of Solnari, which translates to, I think, the Avenger of the Sun. So yeah, and I think the reason why people think that Revier is the leader of the Wild Hunt is because the Avenger of the Sun suggests that Revier is avenging a fallen celestial object, and you know, two of the moons are dead, and moons aren't suns, but they are celestial objects. So that's, I think, where people get that theory from. So yeah. Oh, and also, I there's a case to be made for Nibelung too, though, because she says that this ancient shadow is taking aim at the stars. And Nibelung did once create the Tonatiu, or I do not know how to pronounce it, but the Tonatia in Natlan, which is the giant spaceship or satellite that was supposed to go to space. So, you know, Nibelung did at one point take aim at the stars. So, you know, he might want to do that again. And that's what Nicole might be referring to here. Anyways, Then we see Varka. And Varka came for the moon, apparently. But in quotation, in parentheses, it says Mondstadt, which Mondstadt does like the word Mond does translate to moon, so it makes sense. By the way, this this shot right here, Varka underneath the full moon, banger. Now why why is Varka in Nod Krai? Why is Varka uh coming here for the moon? I don't know. We still, I mean, we still don't know why he started his expedition in the first place. At one point, I think he was presumably in Snezhnaya, where he met Capitano, and now he's in Nod Krai, which is likely west of Sumeru. So he's been all over the place. I mean, maybe he learned something about the moon from the captain, and that's why he's here. Um, there was a whole thing in the paral paralogism. Wait, how do you pronounce the word? Paralogism. Yes. In the paralogism quest, we sort of have an idea that Varka's in Nod Krai, Varka's getting beat up, Varka's searching for answers, uh, and they're and he's gonna be meeting with the Hexen Circle and Venti as well, the tripartite. Um, is that what it's called? The tripartite conference, yeah. I don't know why Varka is in Nod Krai for the moon. Maybe he's searching after a power that'll protect Mondstadt, but that raises the question of like, why does Mondstadt need protecting? I don't know. I do not know. Anyways, Lauma. She cuts her finger, presumably, and for her palm, and her blood is silver, which is interesting. And she's Dendro, which is also interesting. I would not associate her color palette with Dendro. Then we see, I guess this is a wild hunt. And we have our guy Flynn's. Not much to say about Flynn's. Dispelling the wild hunt. And I have seen people translate what's on this tombstone. I don't really want to get into it. I don't care. I'm sorry. But yeah. Flynn's is very clearly a light keeper, though, because that's the symbol of the light keepers. And then we have Columbina, who has like a water droplet as a heel, which is interesting. And she just, I mean, she says a bunch of poetic stuff. In the water, the future mirrors the past. Yeah, we get it, we get it, we get it. Veil of Lies is slipping. Moon's fall is night. Yeah. So basically, she says a bunch of poetic stuff that culminates with the moon will fall. The moon will fall. And I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Are we talking about 3 moons into that, or are we talking about 4? Like, are we talking about the frost moon, the iridescent moon, and the eternal moon, or are we like when she says the moon will fall? I'm guessing. I'm guessing that she means the last moon. I'm going to guess the frost moon will fall. The frost moon will fall. Uh, which begs the question, is it going to get replaced? And I think so. I think it's going to get replaced. In fact, I think Columbina will become the new moon. Um, she's referred to the moon. She's referred to as the Moon Maiden. There's some stuff in the web event that we'll get to, but yeah, she's referred to as the Moon Maiden in the character introduction, not as a member of the Fatui Harbingers, because like you can't see in this image here, but Sandrone is introduced as a member of the Fatui Harbingers, and Columbina isn't. Columbina is referred to as the Moon Maiden, even though she's also part of the Fatui. And also in the previous web event, the ballad of the song of the Welkin Moon, um, it also says that a new moon will rise. So, a moon will fall, a new moon will rise. That's probably Columbina, right? Um, so yeah, there's that. Uh, I don't really know what that means. Like, I, d- I don't really know what the implications of a moon falling and a new moon rising is, but like a lot of factions are making a very, very big deal out of it. Perhaps it's something to do with taking control from Celestia, because Celestia was put in charge of the Moon Sisters after the Heavenly Principles defeated Nibelung, and so the fact that one of the moons is still in the sky, even though it's technically dead, whatever that means, uh, it's still technically under Celestia's rule. And maybe this is just a thing about getting rid of the moon that's under Celestia's rule. So, a new moon who's not loyal to Celestia can rise. And if we do think about the theory that Columbina is the first angel, well, the first angel was disillusioned with Celestia after talking with the Voyager. So, ideologically, Columbina and the first angel have very much in common. Columbina is working for the Fatui, and the Fatui are rebelling against Celestia, and the first angel also rebelled against Celestia by creating the Snowland Fae. So yeah. Then we have Alice, whose design is so cool, by the way. I've seen people complain about her hat, but as someone who's like, okay, I'm going to be talking about her hat first, and then what happens in the scene later. But like, her design is really compelling to me because think about it. The Hexen Circle is all about like illusions and like uh, the things that are unseen, right? Nicole tells us that we should only trust the things we see with our eyes, and everything else is a lie. Well, I mean, look at Alice's hat. It's very, very clever about playing around with negative space. Like, Alice's hat is not a hat at all. It's just the rim of a witch's hat, and then I th- I don't know what like tufts of hair. I don't know if this is part of her body. Like if this is like just because like her hair is more golden. This is more white. I don't know if this is her hair or like an accessory or whatever. I'm gonna choose to believe that this is some sort of accessory. So we have the rim of the hat, and then this accessory here that's supposed to look like the point of a witch's hat. And that, I think, really works for a member of the Hexen Circle whose entire thing is about like things that aren't there, right? And I think that in game, um maybe when she presses her like elemental skill, like her hat lights up or something, and then it becomes like more obvious, a more obvious hat. That could that could be pretty cool, I think. Anyways, I will defend Alice's hat until the day that I die. I think it's really cool. I think the use of the negative space is awesome. And yeah, Alice can do no wrong. Anyways, hmm. Alice uh Alice just talks about how things are messy here. We see that Albedo is here. And people have translated, hold on. People have translated the names on this sheet of paper, and they are technically the names of the three Moon Sisters. So that's interesting. And I think one of the names on this sheet of paper is also Solnari. So that could be, that could be a hint that Rarier is going to show up in Nod Krai because he's the Rache of Solnari, right? So that's pretty cool. Also, Alice's Mondstadt vision has one, two, three, four wings, when normally Mondstadt visions have three wings. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. I don't know why that is. That's pretty cool. Kaya's Mondstadt vision has two wings. Um, that's cool. You know, he's technically a Conrian, so the fact that he has a different vision, uh, like that's a I think a pretty cool nod to that. So the fact that Alice has four wings on her vision, what does that mean? Is that it? Does that just symbolize her like powerful status as a hex and circle witch? I'm not sure. We haven't seen Nicole's vision. We don't know what Nicole's vision looks like. If I had to guess, I'd think that Nicole is has a Nod Krai vision. In fact, I would go as far as to say that Nicole might also be an angel because Skirk mentions that Nicole wasn't always human, and Nicole kind of like uh transformed from whatever she was into a human, and that she had to witness her entire race die. So that points towards, Nicole being an angel, right? I'm not sure what other thing Nicole could be. Like maybe like a Snowland Fae. We still don't know what's up with the Snowland Fae. We haven't seen any Snowland Fae, but maybe Nicole's part, like, maybe Nicole was a Snowland Fae who transformed into a human, something like that. I'm not sure. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna see Nicole, 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 Nicole. Nicole also has quote unquote Conrian eyes with the stars. I don't think she's from Conria. I mean, maybe. I don't think so, but that's there. The stars in Nicole's eyes look kind of different from Dane. His are definitely like sharper. So maybe, maybe she's from Conria, but I don't think so. Anyways, yeah. Alice is catching up with an old friend, and this likely refers to either Nicole or Varka. And the fact that Albedo and Durin are also here after the paralogism quest, that is a hard word to say, uh, probably means that a tripartite meeting is starting, which was also hinted at in that quest, where the Hexen Circle witches, the Knights of Favonius, and the Animo Archon have a meeting. And the Hexen Circle members agree to help the Knights of Favonius defend Mondstadt. Again, like we don't know why Mondstadt needs defending, because like in the Paragilism quest, like Durin is acting up, and therefore Mondstadt does need defending. But in that quest, like that problem is resolved, and now Durin has become a human, and like I don't know why a tripartite meeting needs to start. It needs to be held. It like another thing that always maybe not bothered me, but like I found strange is the fact that like Varka took 80% of the Knights of Favonius to Nod Krai, on his expedition. That is a lot of your forces. 80%. Whatever mission you're going on, like that has to be like I hear 80% and I think, oh, so this mission that you're going on is more important than defending your city. I'm not sure what Varka's quest is, but whatever it is, it's really, really important. And apparently it all culminates in Nod Krai. And there's the tripartite meeting uh that's gonna be held with the witches. So like apparently Varka really, really needs the power of the moon for something to defend Mondstadt, presumably. And I don't know what it is. My if I had to guess, I think it's something to do with Ursa the Drake. Now, for those of you who don't know, Ursa the Drake was a dragon that terrorized Mondstadt for 1,000 years, um, and like indirectly killed uh, Diluc's dad, and was ultimately killed by Dottore. Now, Dottore is likely also showing up in Nod Krai. So the fact that Dottore is probably showing up, and all of these Mondstadt figures are also showing up, um, s- suggests to me that, well, Ursa the Drake is the only thing that's binding those two factions, the Doctor's forces and the Mondstadt forces. So maybe like Ursa the Drake is acting up in Mondstadt. Maybe Ursa the Drake died somewhere in the Dandelion Sea or somewhere in northern Mondstadt, and the remnants from Ursa is going to be threatening Mondstadt in a way that, like is is going to kill the entire region. I don't know. That's just my guess as to why all of these Mondstadt figures are here in Nodcry. And then we just we see Wanderer at the end of this trailer, and I mean, he says that he has a score to settle. Yeah, a score to settle. And as he says this, the reflection in the water shows Scaramouche, not the Wanderer. And this tells me that he's probably gonna settle a score with Dottore. Because Dottore was the harbinger who, initially experimented on him. And, what's really funny about the Wanderer is that he was a prototype for a god twice in his life. The first time was when the Raiden Shogun wanted to create a puppet. Or oh my god, am I getting my Inazuma lore mixed up? Scaramouche Genshin. Yeah, puppet created by Raiden A. Um, as a prototype for the Raiden Shogun. Ooh, my Inazuma lore. Oh god. It's been so long, guys. It's been so long. So yeah, this is the second type. This is the second time that Scaramouche has been used as a test dummy for a god. The first time was with A, and the second time was with Dottore. And I think that Dottore wanted to test if he could create a god with Scaramouche, so he could do it now with Columbina. And that really sucks for my man Scaramouche. He's just been a guinea pig his entire life. He deserves so much better. Anyways, like I think that the Wanderer here is here to cause some chaos and settle something with Dottore. It's gonna be really interesting if Dottore burns down Irminsul though. Like in the Winter Nights Lotso trailer, we see that Dottore burns down Irminsul, and that's never happened. And people have been speculating that, oh, that's because it will happen in the future. Maybe it happens now. And if it happens now, maybe everyone will remember, who the Wanderer is, and they will remember Scaramouche, and who knows what'll happen after. Anyways, there are a lot of Fatui Harbingers in Notcry, and there are a lot of Mondstadt characters in Notcry, and I I'm really hyped. Honestly, I'm hyped for the story more than anything. Like I'm hyped for the story even more than I'm hyped for the characters, and I'm really hyped for the characters. Um, yeah. With that being said, we are not done. We will move on to this web event, which, by the way, we are getting the entire map of Nodcry just like straight up, which is really interesting. Nodcry also doesn't like look the biggest. Like presumably this is just the entire region, which means maybe we will get expansions for other regions in the 6.x patches, which is really, really hype because Nod Krai was sort of like teased as this hub where everybody from Tevat can go, you know? Nod Krai is a place with a lot of different factions, and, you know, when I heard that, I was like, ooh, maybe this could be a time where Genshin catches up on older regions and releases expansions for them. You know, like maybe we can get the Dandelion Sea in Mondstadt. Maybe we can get Blackcliff Forge in Liyue. Maybe we can get the Mirror Javari in Nutlan. Because if I'm not mistaken, in the 5.8 live stream, we see that we are going to be going into a portion of the Mirror Javari, I think is what they said. So maybe we could be getting the full Mirror Javari in the 6.x patches. Because Nod Krai looks quite tiny. That's not necessarily a bad thing if they do give us like more regions for us to explore. But, oh, there's also the Fontaine, like Mont Isis East, Mont Isis East. Never East Simon Worms. Mont Isis West. My bad. We can be getting that. Or like an Inazuma expansion. I would be not be sad with another Inazuma expansion. Honestly, that region needs a lot more love. Anyways, let's talk about the locations in Nod Krai. First off, we have Paha Isle, and this is where the Fatui have constructed their giant base. And like this looks very intimidating. This looks very imposing. And here we have like an image of, I guess, like a dock. I don't think it gives us like much information. That's just a dock. That looks that looks cool, I guess. Oh, and we see. Hold on. Wait a minute. We see. Oh, we see Ochkanatlan in the background. Interesting. Wait. Okay. So if we see Ochkanatlan in the background, Ochkanatlan would be south. Would be like here somewhere. Oh, okay. Sure. Cool. Anyways, Paha Isle. This base is really, really interesting. Because to me, like, it seems. Oh, I can't get. Hello? Oh, I think. Oh, my screen is frozen. My screen is frozen. Okay, I'll be talking a little bit about Paha Isle and the Fatui's base. I think that the Fatui's base looks a lot like a Death Star. Um, and I think that the center of the Death Star, this like power source that we see here, is supposed to contain Columbina. Because if we. Hello? Okay. If we see. If we scroll down and look at the concept art for the Statue of the Seven, look at that. Columbina is in the center and it's encased by this metal thing. And I feel like that this like metal encasing looks a lot like the Fatui base. So what I think is happening here is I think that the Fatui are sending this base, the Kuvaki Experimental Design Bureau, into space as a new moon with Columbina in the center. I think that is what's happening. And my screen has frozen again. That's. I don't like you. Anyways, that's what I think is happening. I think that is what the Fatui is going after. However, like, what's really weird, I don't know why my screen keeps freezing. Columbina is with the Frost Moon Scions. Columbina is currently not with the Fatui Harbingers. Um, hello? Yeah. The Fatui Harbingers need to retrieve Columbina for some reason. And that raises a lot of questions. Like, I'm not really sure whose side Columbina is on or why, like, is she the god of Nod Krai? It seems like she's the god of Nod Krai. Because, like, in this statue of the seven, like, that's Columbina. And in this statue of the seven, that's Columbina. So, like, Columbina's probably a god already, right? Like, we know that the first three Fatui Harbingers have powers that can rival Archons. I guess that's true. I guess that Columbina is the de facto Archon of Nod Krai. So in a way, she's already a god. Which, like, okay, maybe Dottore is not trying to create a god. Maybe Dottore is trying to harness Columbina's power, putting it into the base and sending it up to space for some reason, replacing one of the moons. I think that's what's going on. But we still don't know like whose side Columbina is on. She's she's the new moon. She's the quote unquote Archon of Nod Krai. But like, okay, so if she's sided with the Frostmoon Scions, why the hell is she Fatui then? Like, did they coerce her for some reason? Like, what's the timeline here? If she's with the Fatui though, then like, why do the Fatui like need to retrieve her? Like, why doesn't she just go to the Fatui, uh, and have them use her to complete their plans? I'm not sure what's going on. Columbina did say in this trailer that like the moon is going to fall. So it seems like, she's not trying to prevent that, but the Frost Moon Scions are also worshipping the Frost Moon. So it seems like the Frost Moon Scions don't want the Frost Moon to fall, and therefore, it makes sense that they're opposing the Fatui, who presumably wants the Frost Moon to fall. It's real weird stuff. And I also don't know the timing of her joining the Fatui. Right here, it says, for 5 centuries, generations of moon chanters have followed the commandments left by the first leader of the Frost Moon Scions. Like, okay, the Frost Moon Scions have existed for 500 years. But they're descendants of the people of Hyperborea. What were they doing before 500 years ago? Okay, in the time span between Hyperborea's fall and the start of the Frost Moon Scions 500 years ago, like, what were the descendants of Hyperborea doing? Were they just like lost? Were they just in Nod Krai doing their own thing, like not believing in anything? I think that might be the case. And like, what changed 500 years ago? Like, did Columbina come into being 500 years ago? Uh, I'm not sure. And like, when did Columbina join the Fatui Harbingers? Is it more of a recent thing, or what? Columbina was not introduced as a Fatui Harbinger here, so it seems like her identity as a Fatui is almost like sidelined. By the way, we can see the Nod Krai Oculus here. It looks pretty cool. Hmm. Anyways, there are a lot of questions surrounding Columbina that I don't think we're going to be getting answered until, the actual 6.x patches. For all we know, they're going to be introducing us to a bunch of new and different terms. Which is possible, because it's Genshin. Anyways, next up, there's Blue Amber Lake. And hold on. I'm just trying to Okay, so this over here is Mont Isis in Fontaine. And you can't see in this photo, but there's another photo. Hold on. Blue Amber Lake Genshin. There's another photo where you can clearly see Sumeru in the background. Is it in this? Okay, I'm going to click on it. Yep, there you go. This is clearly the girdle of the Sands region in Sumeru. So we know where Blue Amber Lake is geographically. Therefore, we can know where Nod Krai is geographically. It's probably going to be, or most definitely, it's going to be above Natlan and west of Fontaine and Sumeru. So yeah, that's where Nod Krai will be geographically. Blue Amber Lake. It's a really pretty environment. I don't know why it's purple. I don't know what this like fauna. No, not fauna. I don't know what this is. The trail. I'm not really sure. And also, I'm not really sure about who this boat belongs to. It looks a lot like a whale. It even has like the tail and like the shape of a whale. Um, At first, I was thinking maybe it's the Knights of Favonius because they were on an expedition. What if they came on this boat? But it doesn't really look like a Mondstadt boat to me. I I think I think the most likely scenario is that this is a base of the treasure hoarders. Yeah, because like, okay, 11 factions Nod Krai. I don't see. Okay, are we gonna get anything from this website? We're gonna. Okay, yeah, here we go. Hoyo Lab comes in clutch. I don't see any other thing it could be. Not the Fatui, not the Frostmoon Scions, not the Light, probably not the Lightkeepers. I think the Voynich Guild run Nasha Town, so I think this boat is probably gonna be a base of the treasure hoarders. Moving on. Hisi Island. So yeah, we talked a lot about these guys. They pray to, where is it? Remnants of the North, the Golden City. Praying for the new moon. Yeah, they pray both to Columbina and the Frost Moon. I don't know how their belief system works. So yeah. What's interesting is that some of their architecture, like, it looks a lot like Ankanomiya. Like, look at these arcs and stuff. Look at this specifically. This looks a lot like Ankanomiya, which suggests to me that, maybe the civilization that lived on Hisi Island, like, whether that's which they were probably the ancestors of the Frostmoon Scions. They probably came from the same time period as the people of Ankanomiya, is what I'm getting from that. Anyways, moving on to Nasha Town, which is connected to the Voynich Guild. This power supply, hold on, keeps freezing. This power supply moves, which is really interesting. This suggests to me that maybe this thing, the big orb in the Fatui's base, also moves. It seems to be like a similar thing, right? A similar power system. Um, it I'm really curious to see how oh, it spins up really fast too. I'm really curious to see how Nod Krai's energy system works. Because, this seems to be the centerpiece of Nasha Town. We've seen it in multiple things. And this big orb thing seems to be the center of the Fatui space in Nod Krai. I'm not sure how the power system in Nod Krai works. Like, does it come straight from the Frost Moon? What happens if the Frost Moon falls? What happens if the Frost Moon is replaced? We don't really have any answers. Or like is Columbina even like the power supply of Nod Krai right now? Not sure. Um, these are just locations. Catherine's here. The kids are nasty. Yada yada. Uh, I missed I missed the Lempo Isles, which um okay, hold on. Do you see this claw here? I think that's this. I think that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the Krumkake uh, workshop. And the Kling Klang Krumkake workshop serves as, I would say, like the levity of this region. And like Hoyo loves its levity. Hoyo loves its like comedic haha, not even comedic haha, but like playful characters, right? People were thinking that Natlan would be this war-torn region. Instead, it's like a beautiful and diverse landscape, and its cast of characters, uh, they're not all like broody and sad. They're quite like cheerful. They're quite. They do serve the cast of Natlan instead of being associated what we traditionally would associate with like war, like brutality and stern faces and all that. Instead of encompassing that, like the cast of Natlan seems like a family, and that emphasizes the fact that Hoyo doesn't really like even when Hoyo does get serious, tonally at least like visually speaking, it's always going to be a little lighthearted, and I think the Lempo Isles signify that. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I'm going to talk about? This doesn't really give us much. This doesn't really give us much. Beautiful animal. And this is really interesting. This is really interesting because Dottore, not Dottore, Piero walked past this. I'm not sure what that is. Hold on. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Looks like a ley line of some sort. Don't know. Anyways, Genshin has been releasing lore like crazy. I mean, even like the 5.8 live stream. There's stuff about Sandrone. There's stuff about like the moon crashing down. There's stuff about like it. Like I wonder what is up with Inefa and what's up with Aino. Like, why did Aino send Inefa to presumably like find the traveler? And where did Aino get access to a secret source, like secret source automaton technology from Natlan, from the ancient dragon civilization of Natlan? On top of that, it's really interesting. I think even though the Kling Klang Krumkake workshop is a place where Hoyo can exercise some levity, I think it is going to be a really important location in Nod Krai. And I know will probably be the character that like gives us exposition, gives us the lore dump of Nod Krai when we enter it. Um yeah. I don't really have much else to say. Seems Nod Krai does seem to be different. Very, very different from all the other regions. The devs did not lie when they said Nod Krai would be a different experience. I am expecting Nod Krai You know, I do think that this map is all that Nod Krai is, and it's going to be quite small. But I also think that we are going to be exploring a lot of other regions, and I am so excited. I've been waiting for Dorman Port for a long time. I've been waiting for the Dandelion Sea for a long time. My God, I've been waiting for like so many of these characters for so long. It's gonna be a really hype. I kind of want to guess the elements and rarities of these guys to close off the video. I think Nicole is going to be a 5 star. Varka is going to be a 5 star. Sandrone is going to be a 5 star. Columbina is going to be a 5 star. Alice is going to be a 5 star. Duran's going to be a 5 star. And that's really funny because all of the characters who aren't Nod Cry natives, I am very confident in saying are 5 stars. Which means the only 4 stars are probably Nod Cry natives, which is very funny. I don't know. I feel like Ino might be a 4 star. I can see Jehoda as a 5 star. I don't know. With these four Flins, Lauma, Nefer, and Jehoda, I can see any configuration of things. I don't know. Nefer looks like a Dendro character. Jehoda looks like a Geo character. Alice we know is Pyro. Flins we know is Electro. Durin we know is Pyro. Varka probably Animo. Lauma we know is Dendro. So that leaves Columbina, Sandrone, Ino, and Nicole. Nicole looks like she might be Geo, just because of the color palette. Ino, I'm not sure. Maybe Dendro? Would they have 3 Dendro units in one version? Maybe. Dendro needs some love, I think. Sandrone, no clue. Like, Sandrone might also be Geo. Are we gonna get 3 Geo and 3 Dendro characters? Sandrone might also be Geo. Columbina, I'm gonna say is Cryo, just because she's associated with the Frost Moon. Yeah. Anyways, we we looked at this trailer. No, not this trailer. We looked at this trailer, the Moonlit Ballad of the Night, the Nod Krai teaser trailer, and we looked at the web event. So that's what I wanted to do. I don't have to write no script. I don't have to I don't have to tear my hair out. Great, wonderful. We did the thing. I talked about everything I wanted to talk about. So, yeah. Thank you guys if you're still here. Thank you so much for getting to the end of the video. I will go to sleep now and work on my script for this video that released 2 weeks ago. Oh, I'm such a good YouTuber. Bye guys.